Good morning. Thank you for joining me on this great Tuesday. I'm Dr. Catherine Gilstein, and I will be posting on every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, bringing you empowerment and financial literacy. I would like to welcome today Raul Lomelí. Prior to launching Welcome Tech, Raul was Vice President of Diverse Growth Segments at Wells Fargo. He has also served as President of the Latino Education Achievement Project as Press Release and Public Affairs Attaché for the Consulate General of Mexico in Los Angeles, and as Research Director for the Program on Mexico at UCLA. Raul has co-authored a book on financial aid for higher education, over 50 published news articles, and is the lead author of 18 booklets on financial services, the healthcare system, and higher education, with over 9 million copies distributed nationwide. Raul is an active member on select national nonprofit boards, including Emerging Markets Development Corporation, ProfMex, Worldwide Consortium for Mexico Policy Research, and MALDEF, the Latino legal voice for civil rights in America. He has also previously served in the National Latino Advisory Council for the Nielsen Company, the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Avenida Guadalupe Association. Raul has been recognized by the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce with its National Corporate Advocate of the Year Award, was selected to the San Antonio Business Journal's 40 Under 40 list, and was bestowed the Corporate Responsibility Award by MALDA. In 2019, he was presented with this prestigious Gilberto Bosque Medallion by the International Law Mexican Academy, and most recently was presented with the National OSI Award by the Government of Mexico. He is the proud son of migrant farm workers and labored the fields in the San Joaquin Valley the summers of his youth through his first year of college. I am so excited to have you with me today, and I think your perspective on financial awareness and financial advocacy, especially for the underserved population, will be so helpful to our readers. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm so looking forward to speaking with you. It's such an important topic, and it still baffles me that the K through 12 system still does not devote enough time to make sure that our youth, particularly as you are the expert, are better prepared and equipped to make sure that they make sound decisions and at the very least have the options in front of them that they can actually select. So thank you for having me, and excited about being here with you today.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree with you more. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to start Welcome Tech?
Yes, well, my parents, as you mentioned, were migrant farm workers. So we'll go back and forth between Mexico and the United States. And, there are seasons for agricultural work, usually from the month of May through the month of October, we would be in the United States. And then the rest of the year, we are in Mexico. We'll be a back and forth every year. So there's four brothers, two of us that were born in the month of May and August. We were born in the US just because of the season, the harvest. Those that were born in the month of March were born in Mexico. And that alone changed our trajectories, right? Because now I'm a US born. I was able to really reap the benefits that public education provides in this country, get scholarships to go to college, study abroad. Mm-hmm. And my other brothers that are older, who were born in Mexico, they stayed in Mexico. So that's always been, to me, the challenge to say, look, why is it that I am able to really thrive in the United States with all access to all the benefits that citizenship provides? Well, a lot of immigrants, particularly those without any control, who came to the United States as children, have to struggle that more. So we created what we call Digital Ellis Island. Welcome Tech is a platform that empowers immigrants in the United States, strictly the United States. We don't do any work abroad, to make sure that we can help them become better informed and confident participants in U.S. society. So that's what we've been doing now for, a little bit over 20 years. in different iterations
Very
of the
nice.
company, because as technology comes on board, you need to adapt, innovate to make sure that you're always bringing as many resources as possible to the audience.
Okay, so that tells us what Welcome Tech does and who it serves. Why might young people want to get involved with the work that Welcome Tech is doing?
Yes. When we speak about children of immigrants, there's 45 million immigrants in the United States, and 18 million, they have 18 million children that were born in the United States. And what happens here is that for the most part, unlike most Americans, their parents, for the most part, don't really know U.S. system, particularly when it relates to access to healthcare and access to financial services. So what we end up really engaging a lot with our youth is that many of the questions that usually would be the parents teaching the children, you actually find the children having to teach the parents. So we will find half of our audience coming in as parents in language, in Spanish, to understand and learn about basics on financial literacy and financial acumen. And the other half is their children coming in and saying, how can I explain this to my parents so they understand how financial services work in the United States?
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that Welcome Tech is empowering the younger people to translate it to their parents so that they can make more informed decisions about healthcare, financial services, education, banking, and stuff like that.
That is correct.
Okay.
We're able to cater to both cohorts. For those parents that feel the responsibility to really learn more to teach the children, we have resources for them. For those children that actually want to be able to help the parents, so they are not the ones being carried, to the bank as a translator, then there's also resources for them. So I would say that it's a 50-50%. Obviously, those that are catered to the parents tend to be, Spanish dominant, and then those that tend to cater for U.S.-born children or children of immigrants, that is in English.
Okay, so when we're looking at financial literacy and access to that, how does Welcome Tech address financial education for its users?
Yes, we have over 4 million registered users in our platform, almost 4.5 million, and we gather just the most basic information to make sure that they receive very targeted messaging and information. So we get their first name, we get their age, and we get their zip code. And by getting those three connections with them, we're able to then understand where they live, who they are, and how we can help them. So when it comes to financial services, we'd like to meet them where they're at. If we have someone that already has a checking account, if someone already has a debit card, then we can go and start discussing the importance of credit. But someone that does not have a banking account or is underbanked, then we focus on how to create a budget. And someone who actually, sometimes we think of financial services as just checking, savings, credit, buying a home. But no, we also talk about, health insurance, which has major ramifications when it comes to financial services, so they can understand, what's a PPO, what's an HMO, what is a deductible, what's a copay. And that helps them to hopefully make better decisions and improve society.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to the younger people who are just starting out on their financial journeys, especially when they're coming from immigrant backgrounds? Like, how do you navigate that?
Catherine, we've been doing this now for over 20 years, and it has definitely shifted. There was a time when we just started where we kept saying, just, educate yourself, inform yourself. And now we spend more time pointing to trusted sources, because there's so much misinformation. I mean, that's why I was so excited to come onto your podcast, and I'm so excited to start promoting what you've done, because we need trusted resources where people can go and not have to second guess themselves, like, is this accurate? Is this true? I mean, there's so much misinformation out there on the web that it could be very detrimental to themselves and to their families.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I did write my book is that when I was doing my research, I found so many books on investing, but there were no books on explaining the differences between a debit card and a credit card, the difference between the co-pays and the co-insurance,
Yes.
HMO, PPO. There were nothing, just what are the basics for traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. And I mean, the book is not the be all end all, but it's enough information to give them the correct resources, but it's not enough information will they'll want to do some more research on their own and try to help them navigate it, figure it out. So that's really great. And I'm sure over 20 years, like you've made such an impact. When we're talking about impact and success, acculturation is very top of mind for many second generation immigrants in the US. Can you speak a bit about common acculturation challenges and how
Yes.
Welcome Tech helps to resolve these issues?
Yes. Most immigrants, we speak about 45 million immigrants, of which, about, I would say a quarter has already achieved naturalization, so they're already citizens as well. And then you have another, I would say 40% that are permanent residents, and then you have another 10% that are visa holders, and from all over the world, right? And most communities, immigrant communities, seem to think that their experience is very unique. And the secret here is that it is not. We're all going through the same challenges. Sometimes they think, oh, if I had been born here in the U.S., I would know all this stuff. And we like to basically remind them, no, we actually, as a country, we need to do a lot better in educating on financial services and the whole
Absolutely.
system. So what we like to do is precisely that. How do we create information that will trigger an action? We always said from day one, we do not want to educate for the sake of education. We want to educate to help change behavior. And if we're able to change behavior, then that means that we can track it, right? So when we did our financial literacy program on banking back in 2003 to 2008, we were able to pinpoint to over 1 million bank accounts that were open with the support of major banks. Right. And when we did a program with Crest and oral hygiene, we were able to actually target a segment that unfortunately that did not know that as basic stuff as, you need to be changing your toothbrush, every 8 to 12 weeks. So otherwise it doesn't work. Right. So this is the type of thing. And also, little bits and pieces of just, savings, right? Like it's something that has been very successful with children and their parents is that we'll say, look, we like to save as immigrants, we like to save money. And I will say, look, take it Sunday morning, Saturday morning, cut the coupons, have your children help cut the items, make sure that your list of groceries is listed so that you're not going to buy something that is not on the list. And then attack, and then the savings at the end, it will tell you how much that put away. If you don't put it away, you didn't save it. You just diversified your spending, right? How many people go to the gas station? They go like, "Oh my gosh, gas is so expensive now," but it drops, and they don't make it an adjustment. So if you're really going to save, you need to take those dollars, those pennies, put them away, right? So you can see them grow. So that's kind of like what we do. Obviously, now with over 4 million users, we spend more time with technology and our systems than in front of people, and that's what most likely I miss. But I know that we're impacting a lot more people than when we're just doing small town hall meetings across the United States.
Absolutely. I mean, I reiterate it on my podcast all the time. If you save something just as little as $5 a week or $10 a week, it will add up. Compounding interest comes into play, so it will get there. But I think it's creating those habits of putting something away for yourself and just letting it build up over time. So I think that's really important. What do you think are some of the biggest hurdles that your community reports about accessing vital services in the U.S.?
Yes, that's a very good question, and I'm going to take also back to my team the habit part that you mentioned, because
Sure.
I think it's so important. Habits, it's definitely, when you create a habit, then you don't need to think about it, right? It's part of what you do. But for us, the challenge that we often face is that by not knowing, they end up making very expensive, incorrect mistakes and decisions. Even as basic as a checking account, not understanding that some checking accounts require a minimum balance for them not to be charged, or if they're going to be cashing checks and using cash, then they can no longer manage their budget because they may forget where they spent the money on. But perhaps the biggest challenge is, and it's what separates, I think, the United States from most countries. When we say long term in the United States, we really think 30, 50 years, 100 years. When I ask these questions in our immigrant communities, what's long term? They usually say 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. And that, changing that mindset is perhaps the biggest challenge that we encounter, because we say, this is going to help you in 20 years. I'm like, 20 years? I need to take care of it to, what's going on today. So I don't know if you encounter that as well, Catherine, but that I would say is the biggest challenge that we face, is understanding that savings is not only for a rainy day when things go bad. Savings also has to be for good things. I'm going to save to make a down payment home. I'm going to save. So anyhow, that's.
I think in general, people are very good with saving for the short term. So if they know they're going to go on a girls' weekend and they know they're going to go away for the weekend, they can say, okay, no problem. I'm going to go away for the weekend in November. I could put away a couple of $100. I can do that. But when you think about long-term savings and tell them, to put away for, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, then it's like, oh my gosh, it's so far away. How can I possibly think about that now? So I definitely agree with you on the short term and long term. And I think the problem is just getting people to understand that, because there's only two reasons that you retire. One, you want to, or two, you have to. So if it becomes to a point where you have to retire and it's not when you thought you were going to retire, well, then where are those funds coming from? So I think the short term and the long term is a really good point. How does these challenges relate to young people helping their parents navigate these things like financial services, healthcare, voting, things like that?
Yes. That's the one thing that we've tried to change more specifically, because I don't think it's not just not fair, but it shouldn't be the case where children, particularly younger children, those children that are between the ages of 12 and 18, 13 and 18, the teens, right? The preteens, they shouldn't have to carry this burden. So the more we can do to educate our, this immigrant population, usually countries think that, okay, immigrants are coming in, and I'm talking about, for the most part, the country accepts over 1 million permanent residents every year, right? These are legal immigration. They come in and the country will say, I'm going to help you to make sure that you learn the language. But what's most important than the language is the culture. And the culture of a country can be taught in a different language. Culture transcends language. So what we try to do is, how do we educate the immigrants, in this case, Latin American immigrants, in Spanish about the culture and the norms of the United States? The importance of paying your fair share of taxes, where those taxes go to, how do you benefit from this, right? How do you plan for retirement? In the biggest component, how do we begin to break those norms that they've come back and become very accustomed to, right? I always tell the parents, the best gift that you can give your children is to make sure that they will not have to take care of you financially when you come of age, because it's something that is expected. It's like a badge of honor, and I'm glad that they have that, but it shouldn't be the case.
Absolutely. It's difficult. What has been the most rewarding part of your journey with Welcome Tech so far?
I have gotten this question over the years, and the answer is always the same. It's every day. Like, we get this wonderful messages. We have, for example, a program, a research program, rewards surveys, where people can, answer their surveys. These are very small service that they pay out 15 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents,
Hmm.
maybe a dollar here and there. And there's been times, for example, they say, you know what, I was running out of gas. They pull over, take out our information. They will answer a few surveys there. Now they have enough money to be able, to get back home, right? Because they forgot their wallet or whatever. It just happens every day. It's the small things, right? More than the 4.3 million plus users, I like to say, like, when someone calls us and say, like, look, now I have my credit established. I improved my credit score. Now I own a home. I help my children, now find scholarships. Those are very motivating, but I always tell people we should be doing it without expecting a thank you in return. The fact that we're able to figure out and find out some of those makes us feel good, but the work needs to continue. You find a wallet in the street, you return it, not because someone's going to tell you thank you, but because it's the right thing to do, right? So
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
and that's
Absolutely.
the mantra.
I had that experience this past summer.
Mhm.
I had 4 previous students of mine text me to tell me that they just bought their first house. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And they're all of 26 years old. They only graduated a few years ago. So it was just like things like that when you get the text message from a previous student that you haven't seen in 3-4 years, but I never delete a number. So they'll text me. They're like, "Hey, professor, just wanted to let you know my credit score is so good. I just bought my first house. I just started my business. So
Amazing.
those little
Amazing.
things just keep you going. And
Yes.
I could see the joy in your face because
Yeah.
it really is nice when you can help to empower somebody else. And
Yes.
I would always tell my students, I'm not smarter just because I went to school and I have all these degrees. I'm not smarter. I'm just older with a little bit more of experience. So I've just lived a little longer, So, and it's about, my tagline is be invaluable for what you share, not what you know. Because if you know all the
Mm,
information and you keep it to
I love
yourself,
that.
that's just not good.
Yeah.
So always be
Yes.
invaluable for the information you share, because if you can help somebody else with it, like, why wouldn't you want to do that? I
That
mean,
is
for me,
great.
it's like,
Yes. I wanna
I
be
would do
quoting
that.
you on that when I
That's
speak. I
okay.
wanna.
You can quote
Yes.
me. I
Yes.
have it
That's
have it on
that's a
my
good one.
signature for work. I have it in my book. But yeah, it's just something I thought of like a couple of years ago, and I'm like, it just makes so much sense. But there are people that do not see it that way. There are people that think that they just need to keep all the information for themselves, and I don't understand it, but um, that's okay. But how do you think your work is impacting those younger generations over these past 20 years by getting these success stories and hearing them?
Yes, I think what we take what we do very seriously, and we make sure, we blink and suddenly we can think back 20 years, right? 10 years, and that's great. But the issue is that the world does not stop. So what was accurate and factual 20 years ago, many times it's not the case today. So to me is having this evergreen information that we're constantly making sure that is revised so that we are providing proper information. FICO is a perfect example. They're constantly adjusting little things, right? There was a time that healthcare bills could stay, if you didn't pay them for X reasons, stay in your credit report. But now, luckily, once even they go delinquent, if you actually pay them off, they will have to go out. And
Mhm.
so it's just a constant attending the proper conferences, so that we stay on top of the information that we claim to be experts on,
Mhm.
and so that we're not becoming part of the problem that we're constantly pointing fingers at, which is misinforming our user base, because then we wouldn't be any better. So that's basically the key. Keeping every day is a new day, and sure, we may have a few more years of experience, but with that comes a lot more
Mhm.
responsibility as well.
Absolutely. And I've sat with clients who are like, well, what should I do in this situation? I'm like, it's not a same answer for everybody.
Right.
We need to look at, where you are. We need to look at the entire picture holistically. And, before I can make any recommendations or judgments about it. I need to be able to see it. So what I tell one person is not necessarily what I tell another person, because
Right.
how you're saving if you're single versus how you're saving if you have a family,
Yeah.
it's two different things. Like your goals are different, your dreams are different. And I also try to explain to my clients that it's okay if your goals change, because as you grow and evolve, your goals should change. So maybe first you want to be able to buy a car, then you want to be able to get a house, then you want to be able to, buy a vacation property or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
So as your goals change, those conversations change along the way. And to
Mm-hmm.
your point, keeping up with all of those changes is what really keeps us relevant, and hopefully being able to continue to spread financial literacy and information for banking and healthcare and education.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the future of Welcome Tech. What are some exciting projects or initiatives that you are currently working on right now?
Yes, as any company, the moment that you stop innovating is the moment that your company begins shrinking, right? We're always having to think
Mhm.
ahead, and what are the big topics that may populate. Obviously, with the fast growth of artificial intelligence and what's going on there with machine learning, we have to educate ourselves on it. Particularly as we all know, there's been the biggest challenges and exposure that our communities face is getting misguided by apps that look like they are absolutely legitimate, and they're using all this AI to get the information from them. So they're using it for the wrong reason, to really take advantage, particularly of the elderly. So we are beginning now to explore, okay, how can we begin to develop the information and the assets so that we can explain, at least on a very basic level, how AIs and cryptocurrency, and we're still learning, because it is obviously here. They're going to go away, so we're going to need to be very careful with that. And particularly as it relates to cryptocurrencies, stable coins, particularly, we're trying to focus more on that, so that people understand that those stable coins tend to be pegged to either the euro or the dollar, and therefore may provide a little bit more stability. But again, always trying to learn, and always trying to make sure that we have the resources for when our members and our registered users visit us on the site, or when they send us a message. We receive about 2 million messages via SMS per week, and
Wow.
we have to use, obviously, machine learning and AI to help us kind of answer some of them, but it's embracing it, but being very very respectful of of the new technology.
Absolutely. I tell my clients all the time, I say, if you don't understand it, don't invest in it. So if you don't understand
Absolutely,
cryptocurrency, just stay away from it. There are other
that's right.
investments that you could do: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things like that.
Yes.
But if you don't understand it, just stay away from it. And then that way you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to stress about it. But look into what it is that you do want to do. So any new census reports or new educational resources that you've come up with or that you're working on right now?
So look, we stay away from the politics of it all, but at the same time, we know that part of being a citizen is making sure that they participate through our great democracy. So right now it's being very focused on, look, if you're already a permanent resident, this is the process for you to become naturalized, right? If you're already naturalized, this is the process that you can register to vote, because in many, particularly South American countries, you actually get an electoral card to be able to vote here, understanding and teaching them. And then here are the resources, and all of them are nonprofit resources, so that they learn more about the candidates and their local issues. At the end of the day, what is important is for them to get to the polls, for those that are already eligible to vote, and to be part of our democracy. So that is definitely a big component right now. And healthcare continues to be such a difficult,
It's challenging,
so challenging,
to say the
right?
least.
So,
Yes,
so,
it is
so, and it's so
challenging.
impactful for
Hmm.
their, one illness
Hmm.
or one chronic disease can really wipe out any
Absolutely.
savings that the family may have. So, we're, our subscription program that includes telemedicine and access to discounted services, particularly dental, has
Oh,
been very popular, and that's what we've been focusing over the last year or so.
oh, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Um, any final thoughts you want to add? I mean, I'm so in awe of the work that you're doing, and I think it's just so important. So, anything else you wanted to add?
Just thank you so much for the invitation. It was such a pleasure. And like I mentioned, I'm hoping that this will be the beginning of a long collaboration. I can't wait to
Absolutely.
really be able to promote what you're doing, because again, for us, being able to point people to trusted resources is
Mhm.
it's really the beginning of a strong foundation for people to be able to lift themselves up and
Absolutely. I
understand the
look
system.
forward to working with you as
Yeah,
well. Okay.
excellent.
I'm just going to do a few closing remarks here. So,
Of course.
thank you everyone who has been listening to myself and Raul and getting all of this great information to you. So, just to recap, any questions you have, you can send them via email to my website at Catherine@your18nowwhat.com. But be open to learning, be open to listening, ask questions. What more do you want to know? Visit my website at your18nowwhat.com and drop me a line, send a question or a comment. Any questions received will be responded to by either email or addressed on the next podcast. Remember, be invaluable for what you share, not what you know. See you next time on Your 18 Now What. Be sure to visit my website where you could always find the latest podcast episode to listen, follow, and share. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you.